Scooberlicious Ultimate. Word.
Hi, this is Lawrence McKendall, and this is Scooberlicious Ultimate. And today I have the opportunity to talk with Gabe Hernandez. He is the 2018 Callahan Award winner, and I'm able to get in front of him before he heads back to Texas. So first of all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Right on. And so before we jump into this anticipated interview with Gabriel, let me set up the stage here with what the Callahan Award is about. In 1996, the Callahan Award has been awarded annually to the most valuable players in college ultimate. The award nominees display superior skill and athleticism, making it the difficult plays that so many players dream about look easy. But the award goes a step further. In addition to their on-field success, winners of the Callahan Award also demonstrate outstanding sportsmanship, leadership, and dedication to ultimate. Players are nominated by their teams or their regional coordinators, and the award is voted on by the current college players, meaning the Callahan Award winner also earns the respect of their peers, which is really cool. And so Stanford... The Callahan Award was initiated in 96. In 97, one of the first winners of the Callahan Award, and it was very interesting, was bookend by Stanford men and women. John Schottler and Dominique Fontenette in 97 won the Callahan Award. And it took 21 years for Stanford to rear its head again for a winner, and with Gabe here. And this year's so unique is at the Bay Area bookend. We've got up at Cal, the Pie Queen Kobe won, and for Stanford, Bloodthirsty, we have Gabe. And so so this sort of wraps up the introduction here. So before we jump in, you just came off a surgery.
Yeah.
So bring everybody up to speed. What was the issue, and how'd the surgery go?
Yeah, I tore my ACL during regionals of college, my senior season, and I had surgery 2 weeks ago, and I've just kind of been chilling here. This is one of our coach's house. I've been just recovering past 2 weeks. And
so you were saying when I was setting up, you just got to 90. What was 90 degrees?
Yeah, 90 degrees of like flexion in the knee.
Yeah. I don't know how much PT are you doing daily.
Quite a bit. They give me like exercises I'm supposed to do. I do them like 5 times a day.
Right
It's
on.
like 5 different points in the day. I'll do like 4 or 5 exercises.
Very cool. That's good to hear. I'm glad it was successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knock on wood. I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So, I talked about, have you had much conversation since you've won the award? Have you in any interview? And you said no. So let me just ask this. Some of these are some getting out of port here, out of dock. It's an amazingly cool award. Has it sunk in, or is it just like, I did that, and you just sort of check the box and you move on?
I think the moments where like you realize kind of how like the cool part about it is like I don't know. I went back home and went to like some of the Roughnecks games, and just like people in the community like they just like look over and like they like I don't know. And I took so I'm like doing like a teaching program, and some of my like friends in the program, I took them to a game. Oh, you should come check out this Frisbee game. And they were like,
this Frisbee game?
Yeah, because like they didn't know what it was.
Sure.
I was like, yeah, like,
that's funny.
And yeah, they were like, why is everyone staring at us? And I was like,
So these are they don't know the sport.
No.
Do they? So, and they don't know you won this award.
They do now.
They do.
Yeah.
They do now.
Because one of the teachers at the school we were at is like a big Frisbee person, and so like he like basically like told all of them. He was like, yeah, like he showed them all the videos and like, yeah, he got this award and this and that, and then now they all know. So when I took them to the game, they didn't, but now they do. That's
funny. So how do you, when you bring somebody up to speed? Oh, by the way, I'm kind of a big deal.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't like talking about myself.
You're chill.
Much,
you're very chill. Sure. But given that circumstance, how did you brief them?
They found out because of the other guy, and he explained a lot of it to them, and they asked me about it, and they're like, oh, like we heard you on the stand. I was like, yeah, like that happened. I don't know.
That's nice. Yeah. That's very cool.
But yeah, it definitely has sunk in. Especially hanging out with other people and like getting messages from random like frisbee players asking, oh, like, can you send me like workouts, or like, what did you work on, or like, can you, I want to improve, I want to work hard, what did you do, stuff like that. And yeah, so I think that's the coolest part, is people like kind of asking you for help and stuff. So
that's very cool. So one of the things that I was sort of joking with you was the sound of the needle being ripped from the record when I realized that you started playing Ultimate in your freshman year of college. And to say I was stunned was an understatement, because normally you are talking to someone who has attained one summit in the landscape of Ultimate. They've had a lot of time playing discs from out of the womb, maybe out of, their dad threw with them, their pedigree, their legacy, but that wasn't the case. So you walk me through what intrigued you to go, I think I'll join this club and play this thing.
Okay. Yeah. So I was going into my freshman year. I was thinking about doing club soccer, or like part of like, there's a small part of me that was like, oh, maybe I could like try like walk on or something. But I was like pretty set on club soccer, and their like tryouts were halfway through the first quarter of school, first like semester, and yeah, it was originally, I went to these. It was two things. The first one was I went to these a cappella auditions, and one of the people in one of the groups was on the frisbee team the year before, and so like he had like a bag or something, and I was like, oh, like that looks different. Like, what is that? And like, oh, I'm on the frisbee team. I was like, oh, interesting. And he kind of explained a little bit about it to me. And then later, my freshman roommate, his name's Mike, he was also interested in trying out. He's from Pittsburgh, and so he actually knew a little more about like the Ultimate scene. And he like explained, or he invited me. He's like, oh, like the tryouts are happening on this day, you should come. And then he was like, I actually can't go because it conflicts with my class schedule, but you should go. Like, it's really fun. And I was like, okay, sure. I was very in like,
you should go. It's fun.
Yeah.
And you said okay.
I was very much like, I'm trying to try new things in college.
Good for you.
Yeah. And so I went. It was like the second week of after school started, and I was like, oh, frisbee. Like I was expecting like, oh, like I don't know. I wasn't expecting anything like really like athletic, or like I was like, oh, it's gonna be running around. I don't know, maybe chasing it.
How athletic could it be, right?
Yeah,
it's a frisbee.
Yeah, and then I went to tryouts, saw some of like the older guys. One of the captains that year was like, he was on the Stanford decathlon team, and he like left his freshman year and joined the frisbee team. And so watching him like run and jump, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I stuck with it, liked it, ended up not going to club soccer tryouts. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try something new. Why not? Yeah, I actually didn't think I was gonna make the team because I didn't know how to throw. But
so there's a couple things. Let me establish. One, how good a soccer player were you? As good as you were an Ultimate player?
I played like I played 1 year when I was 5 years old, and then I played like a bunch of other sports, and then I played my senior year of high school. And so I was like a starter on the high school varsity team. We didn't like go to state or anything, so we weren't like a great team, but I liked playing, and I wanted to. I love playing soccer, so. But I don't know. I wasn't like amazing.
That's what I was sort of establishing, is like going, you were a kid who played sports.
Yeah.
You took to the sports. So you go to this frisbee thing, frisbee club, and you didn't think you'd make the team because you couldn't throw, but they got you on.
Yeah.
And so
there might be a video somewhere of me like trying to throw. Like,
I would love to. That would be an awesome video, because I mean that baseline's like, go look. I mean.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like they were trying to teach me how to throw a flick, and I would try to throw it, and like no more than 5-10 yards, it just hit the ground.
Typical, right? Yeah. So what was? I mean, I remember Nick Herney mentioned that you had Ted throw every day. Mm-hmm. Was that instilled in you in your freshman year, or did that come in later?
Kind of. That was more in my sophomore year. Yeah, I think my freshman year I was just like happy to be on the team. Like I would work hard, like they sent out all the gym workouts, and I would like lift and go to all the practices and work hard during practice. And then it wasn't until my sophomore year that I like realized, oh, like throwing is actually really important in this game. And then I was like, I want to get good at throwing, so I threw every day just as long as I could, and I got to like 130 days in a row.
So hold that thought. So talk to me. Freshman year was a blur. You were just having fun. It didn't sink in.
I don't remember much of freshman
Yeah.
year. I just showed up to tournaments,
Yeah.
went to practice, dove.
Yeah. And so sophomore year, and you say, I've got to get better. I got to throw.
Yeah, I think so. After my freshman year, my coach was like, "Oh, you should try to find a club team to play over the summer," and I was like, "Okay." And then I was literally
I love the response. Okay.
And they gave me like the contact of someone in Dallas. I reached out and I was like, "Hey, I want to play over the summer. I don't know if like I've been playing for a year." And then I went to this like one of the club teams in Dallas, and they like tryouts usually end like they're pretty early in the summer, and then school got out kind of late, so I ended up just going to like one practice, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't know if we can give you a spot, but you can come to our practice, and then we'll see." Yeah, and then I went to that practice, and then they invited me to a tournament to like, "Oh yeah, come to tournament, and we'll see how you do," and then they ended up like letting me stay for the season. So
yeah, there must have been something that you were doing that they liked. Was it? I mean, you were doing a lot of run through Ds. You were laying out and making catches, or you had a big engine and they liked the.
I think most of it just came from just like general like athleticism, and it was like a club team. There was like some older guys on the team, maybe like 30s, and just being a young, person. I can't really throw, but if you throw it, I can go like chase it, right?
No, let me tell you, that's a good quality.
And so yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. And also, my freshman year, our coach Ryan Thompson, he was really big on like basics. And so like, all right, when you mark, you're gonna do this like triangle mark, take away different angles. And so like in one of the first drills during that summer, I was like, I did that drill and like got like a couple like point blocks in the first drill, and they were like, okay, like I don't know. So I think that all of that helped.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That definitely pads the resume when you're able to do that. Now you were one of how many captains?
3.
You won
three
three
total,
captains.
yeah.
Okay. So you're one of the younger captains on the team. What was your role? I mean, why did they decide you to make you captain?
I think, well, they told me this like when I was leaving, like this past year, graduating. They we have like an end of year like kind of thing, and they're telling me, your sophomore year, when end of your freshman year, we're looking at like, oh, who like is gonna captain, like, and they basically, it came down to like during the whole year I would just work like hard. I would go to the go multiple times a week, go to all the practices, show up, be very receptive to feedback, like always try to improve. I remember there's a couple, like there was one instance where like there was some like party going on or something, and Elliot texted like the group me, and he was like, where are the rookies at? You guys should be. And I was like at the gym at the time, and I was like, oh, I'm at the gym, posted a picture, and then people were like, oh. And so I don't know, that kind of thing. I think they were like, oh, we want you, like, you work hard, we want that to be a team culture thing, but then also you're very like positive and like goofy and like not very like, some of the older players on the team were very like, we need to win, we need to work hard, and very like kind of negative. And so I think part of the positivity and just being generally like fun, like enjoying the game, enjoying the experience of learning as a team, I think is something they wanted. And so my role my sophomore year was a lot of like, I didn't know much Frisbee strategy. It was more like, okay, find ways to motivate people to work hard, throw every day. That's when I did the throw every day thing, and like kept count and like someone tried to beat me, like so stuff like that was a big part of my role sophomore year.
So let's dwell about the throw every day, because when Nick mentioned that, I've been sort of championing that. It seems very logical. Ted, throw every day. So, and you said how many? I derailed you when you were talking about your length of time. How many days did you put together to throw?
That's like 130.
130. And what consisted of what you needed to do to say I threw for the day? Was one throw?
No, it was 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
That was a threshold. Mm-hmm. And was it only 20 minutes, or did you go beyond that?
Oftentimes, like weekends or something, or Fridays after classes, I would maybe sometimes like an hour or something. And I was always very like, I would throw, but then I would always like picture like, okay, I'm in a game. Like try to imagine a situation where I would throw what I was throwing at the time. Yeah. I think that really helped. I think the biggest thing I remember doing for like an extended period of time was that stepping out, seeing how far I could reach, and then like practice throwing from there, and just doing that a lot, and then being able to get there quickly after that. Like, so working on, I think that really now, like watching film from like senior year and junior, like being able to like get to that position quickly and throw is a big reason why I was like, I'm able to like break the mark. And I think none of that was really like, I wasn't thinking I'm doing this so I can learn to break the mark, but it was just like as a result, like it kind of developed.
So take me through the transition of your freshman to your junior year. You're throwing every day. Your awareness of the sport is growing. Were there flashes that you were seeing translate on the field during the game to go, oh, this my time in the gym, my time throwing is paying off?
So I think the throwing every day for me kind of led into the summer after my sophomore year, because even after the season was over, like I still kept throwing. I stayed in the Bay Area that summer, and I captained like the Palo Alto Suns team. It was like a club team, and so like we practiced like during the week, and then we just on a Tuesday or Thursday we just like scrimmage a lot. And I was like, oh, we're practicing. We do like a drill or two, and then all right, we're gonna scrimmage for this practice. So it was a lot of fun. We went to a couple tournaments. So just like constant, just like playing kind of scrimmage game situations. And I think because of the throwing every day kind of like was right before that, that summer was the first time that I started to like see flashes of like, oh, handling, breaking the mark, like moving the disc, like marching down the field. And that's the first time like coach also, Ryan, was like, we might try to put you like handling.
And when you play, you're getting noticed. Hey, people are giving you feedback when you're seeing you break the mark, and you're making difficult throws. That must have been very satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of like, oh, we might try this, this coming season. And then I was like, okay, I want to try to see what that's like this summer. So more or less like, it was cool. It was good to hear, but also more like kind of a fuel to like, oh, like new role, like that could be exciting. Like,
and what was your view going into your junior year, how the team looked?
My sophomore year, I think, was the strongest team we had.
Really?
Yeah. And that was
collectively.
Collectively. Because I remember we went to Santa Barbara invite the beginning of the season, and we would go on like 7-8 break runs against teams, regardless of who it was. And then regionals, we just had like injuries. We were missing. So one of the guys had like a funeral, death in the family, had to leave for that weekend. One guy had like a concussion. Someone had a broken pinky, or like all these kind of things, injuries. And then we made it to finals, but then Slow just balled out, and then so we didn't get to go to nationals.
So your senior year, you were, I would say you were the Swiss Army knife. I mean, you cut, you handled, you played D. Were you O or D line?
Mainly D line, but then in like big games,
in a pinch,
I would play most points.
Right. That's the thing. You were the workhorse. You played most points. So what was the approach or the style between your junior and your senior year? Was it mainly the style because everything ran through you in your senior year, or was there whether you did that or not, was there a different approach to the game between junior and senior year?
My junior year, there was a lot of fifth years on the team. And like our O-line was like, I think 5 or 6 of people were fifth years, and that was Elliott and Nolan Walsh. You know who that is? Mm-hmm. He was like, he scored like over 100 goals that year. And everyone would joke about, oh, Elliott to Nolan, like our offense is just, he's going to hug it to Nolan, and Nolan's going to catch it over a bunch of people, and we're going to score. Yeah. And I remember specifically one game, our pre-quarters at Stanford Invite, we played Pittsburgh, and we were like, the whole game was like on serve the whole time, and like 10 or 11 of the goals were just Elliott hugs to Nolan.
Really?
Yeah. And like the whole reason, like, oh, like the offense is going back out, and we're just like, and then hugs to Nolan. Okay, try to get a break. Nope. Okay, Elliott to Nolan. And then my senior year, we ended up like, we still had like these like really good cutters on our, and then we also had like a connection like Drew to Mike, which was, oh, he's gonna catch it, he's gonna hook it to Mike, it's gonna work. So it's still like similar, but we had to also rely more on like just like the middle of the team, I guess. And so like a lot of the early year was like developing the middle, like the sophomore class that year, getting reps for them, and yeah, so it was like, I don't know, it felt like we relied more on like the middle part, and my senior year.
So let's talk about now. Is your team? I mean, did you know it was your team, or is this sort of like in retrospect, you looking back that it was your team?
I think it was more of a retrospect thing. During the season, I was very focused on the team.
Yeah.
And putting the pieces together as a team, and like getting people involved and like developing the team, and like, so it never felt like, even though I did play a lot of points, and like I always like was focused on how to like get other, like the team just be collectively better, and that's usually on the field, like with strategy and like calling plays or trying to attack the defenses a certain way. So it wasn't until like after the fact, like looking back and like seeing like the videos that they put together for the Callahan, and just like seeing the like some of the stats the coach would take, and like it now, like in retrospect, it's like, okay, like I was a big part.
You were
of
heavy
that.
lifting.
Yeah.
But that was one of the interesting things is when I talk with you, there is a long view, there is a we, there is development, there is nobody. You're not saying, look at me. And that's always good. I think that a healthy team has that. If you have somebody saying it's me all the time, it can definitely erode a lot of things.
It can just cause tension and like.
Absolutely. A lot of different things. So I want to take a look before we get into some other topics about the Callahan. You go into the senior year, you knew going in you were going to be the Callahan nominee? What did that nomination process look like? How did you know, like, I guess it's going to be me, or there was other candidates it easily could have been?
So I did Elliot's Callahan campaign, I guess you'd call it, my junior year, his senior year. And I think he was like really deserving of it. And so whenever I did it, like in retrospect, I was like, oh, if we're going to have like a Callahan, like we should announce early. We should like, make the decision early, and then just, have a good, and then I also I was still applying to grad schools at the time. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be a fifth year at Stanford or not. And so, but regardless of all that, I was like, okay, like it was kind of a weird position to be in, 'cause like I knew I was like one of the candidates for the team, but I was like, whoever it is, we should just like, if we want that to be like a thing we focus on, then we should like pick early. So like in the fall, we like had everyone vote, like, all right, just name your top three. Sure. Like, and yeah. And then from there, like the year before, the summer before, I tried out for double wide. And since I was away at school during tryouts, I like made a video and sent it to them. And then, so they used that video as like the announcement at the beginning of the year.
So you made a video to show double wide.
Yeah.
Okay.
For tryouts. And then like I showed some people on the team, and then they like got a hold of it. And then it was like this is our Callahan. But we like, it was early. It was in the fall, was like, we picked the team, played tournaments. It was like, all right, we should like, who's going to be our, that's kind of how and then after that, like mainly the sophomore class, a lot of people in the sophomore class, they just kind of took off with like the videos and the highlights and the storyline and all that stuff. Yeah, that's kind of how the process went for us.
The marketing. What is a tip for somebody who is truly a candidate? Get out early, get a videotape, get several videotapes. You have a rap album coming out Tuesday. You want to mention? I'm joking, so what's the process of the marketing of the Callahan?
I mean, obviously the videos have a lot of influence and a lot of weight, and if you have a great video, you're gonna get votes. So it's kind of like weird that like a lot of like so much of the award comes down to who can make a better video. So then you can start to have questions of like, oh, access to video. And like, we don't have high quality footage, like our video is not going to be, and so like that kind of creates like, it's not obvious. It's not like a perfect, and a lot of that comes to just like resources, but given the way things are, like if you want to have a shot at it, you need to have I think you need to have a good video.
How many videos did you put out?
So there was that one, and then they made like senior season highlight video. And part of the reason was like, oh, here's showing like the past 3 years, and then they have one. All right, here's showing like this year, because a lot of people, there's like some people like discuss or talk about, oh, should it be like their entire college career? Should it be like their club highlights? Should it be their like? And so I think one of the things that they focused on was like, okay, we have the first video, and that has like mostly college plays, but also has a couple club plays in there, some AUDL plays. And then the second one they put out, like when all the videos came out, was this is just this season college, these highlights. And then the regionals thing happened, the ACL, and then they like, we have to make another video. And then, yeah, they took off and put it together and then put it out there. So I guess technically there's 3, if you can consider the third one. That's like why they made it. So
what was the third one? How late in the campaign was that released?
That was like maybe it was like maybe a week and a half after regionals, a week after regionals, maybe a little longer, and it was maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before voting closed, before nationals. So they were just like, we have this thing happened. It was crazy. Like, we need to make a video and put it out there so people can hear. And I think that was a big part of like the whole storyline, and like he did what? Like, I didn't know it was torn, but like you can spin it that way. And like he fought through and like all that. Yeah. But I think that was a big part of like the whole storyline, and like he helped us team get to nationals.
So you mentioned the storyline post facto. I mean, before looking back on it, while you were playing, you were just being you. Yeah. Gabe's being Gabe. So
yeah, a big part of the weekend was just effort. Like, and so even when I got hurt, like, oh, then your knee's fine. If you can manage the pain, you should be able to play. So I just took some ibuprofen and like, all right, like we're gonna play. Like, this could be our last game. Let's go have some fun. Let's play some win ball. So I think that was a big team mentality, and I think that was a big reason why we like were able to do so well. And obviously, I'm not like saying I was a big part of that, but then at the end of the day, like if you don't have 7 people on the team doing their job, playing defense, like you're not going to get anywhere. So yeah, win the ball.
So that's beautiful. So tell me about you allowed me to peer into the culture. Talk to me about, I sense a coaching style that, you know, some coaches can, if a player makes a mistake, they look towards the bench because the coach is blowing up. And when you've got a larger view of like win ball, there's going to be turns, people can be more relaxed as they understand that's a component of the game, especially in playing win ball. But talk to me about the culture of Bloodthirsty in your senior year.
My understanding before I got to Stanford, there was like, you know, Stanford was a good program for a number of years, and there was a dry spell of like 5-6 years without going to nationals. Right. And the first year that they didn't make nationals, a lot of people were like kind of negative, and like the next year was all about going back and like, if we're not working hard, if we're not winning games, if we're not meeting this expectation, we're failing. You know, pieces that were still present my freshman year, and that's part of the reason why they wanted me to captain sophomore year was like, he has fun, he works hard, like I try not to be like, I don't know, I don't think negativity, like you all want to reach a goal, but also like the process of getting to that goal needs to be enjoyable.
Sure.
And so it was a gradual kind of change from my freshman year to my senior year. And it also wasn't just all like me. There's a lot of people on the team, like this guy named Grant, who was like our spirit captain, who ever since he joined the team, he's a grad student. He was really big on like, the spirit of the game, like being positive and helping, you know, reinforcing this positive like environment on the team. Also, Alan and Dovu, he's another one of the captains, really spirited, like fun, positive. So a lot of pieces that came into like making the team what it was. And senior year was like just like the full embodiment of like this fun, goofy like team. We played Carleton at nationals, and we took half on them, and it was like the most. I wasn't playing that game but the whole game, like we got there and we're like, we're just gonna have fun, we're gonna play, we're gonna do our thing. And so you could see on the sidelines, like before every pull, we're like doing our weird cheers, and then whenever like Carleton would make a turn or like they would make a mistake, the coach is like, never do that again.
Come on,
like,
the Carleton's coach.
Yeah, and so like that for me was like a really big visualization of like, this is one type of team culture, there's another type of team culture, we're having a lot more fun than them. And we didn't win any of our games at nationals, but we still had like such a fun time. And then we won the Spirit Award. Yeah, it just felt like a full embodiment of like this fun, competitive, energetic team. Obviously, winning a national championship would be cool, but
Sure.
even, one team gets that, the other 19 don't. So being able to look back on your experience and still like, smile and like, that was positive. That was so much fun. That's one of my best memories from like college and stuff. Is really valuable, and I think that's something like a lot of teams should strive for. Ryan was the coach the 4 years that I was there, and I think he was a big part in like, trying to change that and like bringing back positivity and like all this. So with that came like Josh, and then Matthias, who was the other coach. In terms of players, I think. So the other two captains that I captained with, Alan and Davu and Drew Matheson, they're both, other two players that did not play Frisbee before college. And
crazy.
Yeah. And so like, I think having the three captains like never played before college, but they're all positive. They're all fun. They're all hardworking. Kind of like, as an example for all the young guys that were recruiting. Oh, I didn't play. That's fine. Look at
Very
our
interesting.
captains.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so them three, and then Grant Lynn, who is one of the most like amazing humans I've ever met in my life. He's an MD PhD. He just defended his thesis and is going into med school.
Nice.
Neurosurgeon, I think he's going to be. And he was...
So a slacker.
So, yeah, exactly.
Okay, good.
And so he was ever since he was also joined the team my freshman year, but he was a grad student, so older. But he was always big on like spirit of the game, fairness, positivity. And he was like, one of his goals for us at the very, very beginning of my senior year was we need to win spirit at nationals.
Really?
Yeah. And so when that actually happened, like the disc we got, we gave it to him as a present because that was, ever since he joined the team, it's been one of his like big pushes and goals. So he was really big on that. And then outside of those people, I'd put Sam Coons, who was a captain the year before and played with the Spiders. He captained my junior year and was also really big on like, I really want this to be a fun, positive team. And he kind of like laid like he helped lay down, he's a very, very organized person, helped lay down the fundamental framework that we were able to build from that year and then the year before and the year after, which was my senior year. Yeah, so those are like some of the people that come to mind. Most of the team, if not all, like they're all super.
Interpretation. What's your interpretation of spirit of the game?
For me, it's like, being able to be competitive, the highest level, competitive, fighting for every inch, but then also being able to like discuss at a basic level, like discuss any call that's made, like with an opponent respectfully, and like being able to try to see their, and then also like just holding, this general positive regard for people you're playing against. Like you're competing with each other. There might be moments where like there's disagreements, but like just general, like we are all people trying to enjoy this game. Like it's kind of like the underlying, I don't know, like understanding, or like we're being competitive at the same time. We're all trying to have fun. And so like it's, it's fun when you win. It's also fun when we have a great time together playing against each other, with each other. So probably could have been better worded, but
no, it was great. It was true.
Yeah.
It was from the heart. I like Very cool. So I see if you can put your finger on this. So how do you win the spirit when you go to nationals or go to a tournament? Is it like, for instance, there's somebody I know he had songs for every team they were going to play. The cheers were it was very orchestrated with high intention, but the approach was to be over the top. And so I'm curious, you came from a place of the heart, like you were really trying to embody spirit. Mm-hmm. And so what was that like? How do you do that? And how do you win?
So first, I think if your intent or your like reasoning for winning spirit is so you can win an award, I generally I'm not a fan of that. Winning something so you can get a recognition for it. But in general, I think, I don't know. I think it just comes from this like empathy, I think. And just like taking a second to just think about you're playing with your team there's another team who, okay, it's not your team, but they're another Frisbee team that is also like doing their thing. Like, it's just like this kind of awareness that you are not the center of the game. You're not the center, like your team is not the center of the tournament.
Right.
You are part of this bigger thing, which is a tournament or like the community. And so I think a lot of it just stems from that awareness and being, oh, like we're competing, but you are like, we may be on the same team. Like we could have been on the same team, maybe not. And just that kind of awareness and general positive, like.
You run the table at regionals, you come back. Tell me about what was the mindset going into nationals for Bloodthirsty?
My junior year, when we went to nationals, we always talked about it as like, you know, we earned the opportunity to spend 4 more weeks with this team. And so going the senior year was the same kind of thing. Like, hey, we have this opportunity. We earned this chance to go 4 more weeks with this team, and we're gonna, you know, polish. You know, basically, it kind of fit along the same mentality that we had the rest of the season. Was like, we're going to work hard. We're going to improve as much as we can. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna like going into nationals. And then personally, I was like, like the surgeon that looked at the MRI was like, you have a lot of strength and stability, surprisingly. And he said he had seen people tear their ACLs and compete before, and he said the outcome is everywhere from really good, you play, nothing happens, to you mess up a lot of the rest of your knee. So that was a big like.
That's an interesting
question for me going into that. And a lot of like was like talking to coaches and saying like, hey, like, I don't know, like it is my senior season, but at the same time, like I'm young, have a lot of like life left, you know? And just basically it would just come down to like wearing the brace, doing cutting drills with the trainer, seeing what felt comfortable. And so going in, I think a couple of days before nationals was when we like decided like, okay, like I think I'm gonna try to play. And we were just like, we were all very tense, I think. And a lot of people tried to, including myself, try to do a lot themselves. And so like for me, that involved like, oh, I'm cautious about my knee, so I try to do a lot with my throws. And so like I had ill-advised hucks or like, you know, trying to do too much with the throws. And then I was kind of like really hard on myself because I didn't know if I was helping the team, but then I also wanted to help the team, but didn't know what the best way to do that was. And I wasn't playing well. So I was very like in my own head kind of thing. But for me, I take a lot of the team culture and energy that day was like, I don't know. I take responsibility kind of for that. I feel part of that because I was like, I was in my head. I wasn't having fun. And so a lot of that, like, I don't know. Like, and then at the end of it, we lost that first game. We lost the second game, which were we're the 3rd seed. It was against the 4 and 5 seeds. And so at the end of the day, we had just like this talk, like, hey, like, we're not having fun. Like, we're not ourselves. What's going on? So also one of the reasons that I didn't play was 'cause during the second game, I was like playing, and then during that game was when like I made like a cut or something, and then I felt like a tweak in my knee. Like I was like, oh, that's not good. And then I went to the trainer, and he was like, and then he was like, he basically said the same thing. Like if you just jogged over here, if you feel like you can do things, like you have the strength and stability still. And I was like, okay.
But jogging's one thing, cutting's another
yeah.
one. But anyway, go ahead. Yes.
And so I played points on and off of that game, but then the next morning my knee was just swollen from that thing that happened. I don't know what it was. And then that's when I was like, okay, I can't really put weight on it. And I had a personal moment where I was like, hey guys, I just want to apologize for like, I know I'm hurt, I'm trying to help the team, but like that's not, you know, okay for me, like just walk around my head down and like not be, I got actually pretty emotional during that. And we all like, a lot of people said things to each other like, oh, like we should trust each other, or like sorry for this, sorry for that, kind of like, I don't know. And then the next day was a complete different story for us. We like, you know, showed up and like, remember the talk we had yesterday, like wind ball, like all these things, we're going to play. It's Carleton. Yeah. Who cares? Like, we're just going to play, have fun. And so we came out that game just like the most energy that we had. And I think it was like one of our best games all season, you know. I think we could have been a different story if the first day one, we go out with that energy and with that positivity we had all year long. But we kind of load a little bit, which is unfortunate, but we were able to like flip it day 2 and the rest of the weekend.
Well, how did it feel, because you were awarded the Callahan while you were there, so you were having this weird struggle of a tournament. And what day was it? What day were you awarded? Did you learn that you won?
It was like after. It was like during semis.
So you were going. So was that award looming That had no bearing. It just happened to be. It is
Not
what it
really.
is. It's a separate thing.
At least when we were playing, I was like, my mind was on like the team. And there was a couple, so I was like, I had like an interview with like B Ultimate and Ulti World. And so I knew that, and like I was trying to schedule that during the games, like in between like a bye or something. So like I knew it was there, but I was just like, I don't know. And it also, I think they announced the finalists. Like, I remember just waking up one day in the hotel and them being like, "Oh look, check it out, you're a finalist." And so I was like, "Oh, like."
So I didn't know they announced it while you were there. So I thought they announced the finalist a few weeks out. Interesting. So you're there and you find out you're getting up.
So I mean, I knew it was there. I didn't take too much of like my mind or anything because I was just focused on like our team. Yeah. But then after like we finished pool play, I'm like, oh, we have like consolation game still, and we finished that. And then the next day was the semis, I think. So everyone's like, all right, like the ceremony, we're all gonna be here at this time. They like body painted and like. So after our games were over, I think the whole team was just like waiting for that, and then also the Spirit Award thing.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to piece together why you're there and you're going through what you're describing, these arc of emotions for the team while you're at nationals and what you're feeling physically. And then you also have this, you find that you're nominated, you're one of the finalists, kind of cool, which is weird because you're in this storm of trying to do battle and win and busting up pinwheels and having a team, meetings of like, hey, this is what's happening. I apologize. And you've got this shiny thing that's sort of looming on the horizon. So was it one of these situations when you talk to people at the Callahan, the Academy Awards, like going, look, I didn't write a speech because I didn't think I'd win, and all of a sudden you've got like, did they just say my name? I mean, what was that like?
The moment?
Yeah.
It was cool. I wasn't like, so the whole leading up to it, people were like, I just want to tell you, even if you don't get it, like, I'm still like proud of you and you've done so much for the team. And so
that's interesting.
And so for me, I was like, my whole time in college, it felt really distant, the award. And so like, oh, these players are like so good, nationals. I didn't go to nationals till my junior year. So like, it felt like, oh, I'm here, but like we haven't been here a lot. And it's like some teams have been every single year. And so being a finalist, I was like, oh, like it's cool, but like I didn't feel like I don't know, like it just still felt like distant or like didn't like not something that could actually happen.
Right.
And then leading up to ceremony, people were like, "Are you like nervous?" And I'm like, "I'm not." So the feeling I was feeling before the ceremony, I was like, "I'm not like if I don't get it, like that's fine." And so like for me, it's like I'm kind of nervous, not because if I don't get it, I'm gonna be sad or anything, because like. But like I know if you get it, like the upside of that, the positive is just gonna like that's the part that kind of makes me nervous. Like if it actually happens.
Interesting. This is the conversations I like. Absolutely,
okay.
Please.
And then just sitting like going through the like the whole that feeling was present the whole like you're shaking their hands, standing next to the other guys, and like it was just like I was like. Nervous because like if it happens like oh that's crazy and like, oh my god, but then if it doesn't like like congrats to that guy,
right?
Like,
and then off you go, right?
Yeah, and then literally like the announcer just said like from Stanford University, and then I just like what I remember is just like being there and just kind of like a brief moment of being surprised, and then the team just like engulfing me and like they're all shirtless, have stuff right on their chest and like jumping up and down, and I'm just like. Just kind of like, surrounded by like, my team, and just kind of like can't even move. Yeah. Just kind of trying to take it in. And then also my sister had taught the team like a Mexican like chant. And so they were. Did
you know this? So was that a surprise?
I was around, yeah.
Okay.
And so like they were like learning and so like they learned it, and then the whole time they were just like yelling this chant that I remember from like when I was growing up. Awesome. We would do like as kids and stuff. And yeah, it was just like.
What was the chant?
Huh?
What was the chant?
Chiquiti boom a la bim bomba, chiquiti boom a la bim bomba, and Gabe, ra, ra, ra.
Right on.
And you just repeat it. Cool. And yeah, it was just like a moment of like, it was, I can't really like describe it, I guess. It was just like, it happened so fast, like a lot of kind of shock first, and then this team surrounding you, giving you hugs, people are like crying. Some of like the 50 years, Sam Coons, the guy who was a 50 year, just like gave me a hug, and he's like, dude, just ever since you're a freshman, like you've worked so hard and you deserve this, and he gave me a hug and like just in tears. And then my parents were there. They didn't even know like what the award was. 2 days before they didn't know, and then my dad we won, And then he was like, they're so excited. And then he grabbed the trophy, like held it up victoriously. And I was like, you didn't even know what these meant 2 days ago. Because for me, it's like cool. And like, obviously, like I worked hard and like, it wasn't something that I was a checklist that I'm going to go win that award. But like, and just having a moment where people like, dude, like, you know, appreciation and like love and like affection and like all this stuff, just like, that's the stuff like I'm going to remember. Like the coaches, the players saying things, people like hugs, all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's put a bow on the what were the takeaways at nationals? You obviously had a personal conquest. You ended up winning, but talk to me about what was the takeaway for the team point as you were leaving? What did you learn? What did the team learn? And then talk to me about you're flying home. You've got this trophy that you've got a wedge in the overhead. In the plane, and you're taking stock on your career.
The trophy's actually with my uncle in Arizona right now.
Awesome.
I had to fly from...
It's a big ass trophy.
Yeah, from nationals to... So I brought it back to my dorm, and then after graduation, I had to fly to Texas for grad school. And then one of my uncles was like, "Oh yeah, I'll drive it. I'll take care of it." Because I couldn't. It was too big. Yeah, so it's in Arizona somewhere right now. The biggest thing the team learned for sure was like, obviously our team is very competitive and like a lot of people like want to win and like, but that weekend was fun regardless of that. And like, that's like, sort of, I guess to phrase it, it's just like being this like fun, positive, hungry team. Like if you work hard as a team and if you have fun while doing it and you're pushing each other, and you're going to value the experience at the end of the ride. So I'd say that. And then also the whole issue of like controllables, focusing on what you can control. At regionals, like wind ball, like we can't control the wind. The other team can't control the wind.
Right.
We can control how much effort we put in after every thing that goes in the air.
That's very cool.
All this stuff. So focusing on what you can control. At nationals, like day one's behind us, like we can't control that anymore. We have a day of ultimate left. We can come out here and have a great time and like
let me ask a couple questions that I got from your teammate. One is from Elliot. Looking back on your last 4 years of ultimate, besides the Callahan, what has been your greatest pride and best memory?
Best memory? I think the best memories that come to my mind are moments like taking half on Carlton or being down like 7-3 to slow at nationals and like surging back in the second half and just like beating UNC Wilmington my sophomore year at Easterns. They're the number 1 seed, favorite, show up. Like we just, all around show up to play, like beating UNC my junior year at Easterns in pool play day 1. So like for me, it's like being the underdog and like, showing up more than the other team does. And so some of my favorite memories are like looking back on those moments and just flashes of those games, seeing like our team just like toe to toe and like best some of these teams. Yeah. Greatest pride, I think. So I really value the, I guess, influence and impact on the younger players and on the surrounding people within the team and within like the Southwest and like, and so like, and then seeing like the younger players, like the freshmen and the sophomores be like want to work hard, and like seeing this guy started freshman year and like, he was able to make big strides and get to where he got, and seeing them be motivated and working hard, and not just for the sake of like ultimate, but also for the team. And like, so being able to look back and, think about the team culture and think about the players that have developed and like some of the young guys that like a lot of the team at Stanford is people that didn't play before college. So it's like being able to be a part of that. And knowing that you had a general positive like role in people's experiences, I guess, is something that I value a lot, I think, and something that I like try to keep doing, I guess. I don't know if that's like a good way of saying it, but just knowing that, I think, is like, I look back, I'm like, happy, value it. I'm proud of that.
Is there a memory you can pinpoint? This is from Elliot as well. Is there a moment you can pinpoint from early in your career when you decided you're really good at this game? What did that moment look like? That play, that moment, that practice, that conversation.
I think it comes down to like having other teams like strategize against you specifically.
That's interesting. When did you learn that teams were strategizing against you?
And the moment that first came to mind when you said that, I guess, was at Nationals. We were playing, like we were warming up for the Washington game, and it was like a decisive, like we win, we make it to pre-quarters, we lose, we could be out of the bracket. And we're warming up, and I'm just like warming up with Nick or something or Elliot, and then I see their coach just kind of talking, like huddling with like some players, and like there's like, you know, like as I walk by, he's like, oh, like that's him, like or something like that, and I was like, oh damn, what? Like, for me, that whole year I was just like doing my thing, like helping the team, all this stuff, and then that moment when like I realized the coach, he's like singled out, like, you know,
boxing one. I don't know if you're a basketball term, but they were gonna.
Yeah. And so like they had something, you know, planned or something.
Right.
And so like that at that moment I was like, okay, like they're playing us, and since they're playing us, they're like focusing probably like, and he probably said like Elliot and Nolan and stuff like that. But that moment for me was like, I was like, okay, like that's a thing now. Okay, cool.
That's a thing.
And I don't know if like you can decide that you're good, but, and I don't like talking about myself, but that was a moment that.
But that's a high level moment. But good is maybe you do an IO break, a high release throw, something that was like, wow, normally I'm seeing the better players do, and now you're able to like, wow, I'm able to break the mark on the goal line. Was there something that said?
So I guess most of the moments that come to mind are junior year. So we were playing UMass in pool play at Nationals, and close game. They're like up a couple points, like 1 or 2 or something. And then something happened, and I was like, okay, and like we need to score, and like we can't turn it over. And I was like handling. And so I remember just like there's a sequence of like maybe 3 where like break the mark and then go and then reset, get the disc again, break the mark again. And it was like 2 or 3 of those in a row, and then breaking the mark for the goal again. And so I think that sequence against like the UMass, who was the number 1 seed that year, I was like, okay, like I've been doing this all year long, but then I can do it against like some of the best players here. But that was a moment that was like, oh, like it happened. And it was like one was like a high release or a backhand or something.
Dude,
and afterwards, coach is like, don't get too comfortable. Is something that he said.
You're breaking the mark 3 times in the game.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good in a single point, and
Yeah.
you're doing it against a high-level team. That's a nice highlight.
So I guess, yeah.
Right on. His third question was, now that you've carried your team to Nationals, won Callahan, what are some of your next goals within Ultimate?
I definitely want to keep playing. So my next goals, I think I want to play with a high-level team. I played with double wide last year. This year, I'm just taking the year off, not playing with anyone because I'm hurt. So I guess just playing with like a competitive Nationals club team, and just finding my role within like because in college I was handled, but I was like a lot of like do everything like, and so in being able to find my like, oh, what could my role be at like the club level, and then larger scale, I guess I want to be able to like to play at Worlds eventually. I could have if I wasn't hurt, I could have played this past time with double wide because we made it, but so playing at Worlds, I guess playing at tournaments like that would be, I guess, a goal. And then trying to help promote like diversity in the sport also. Just because I know coming in, there's a lot diversity and like I guess awareness of like how do you call it, like lack of resources sometimes. I guess being able to promote diversity in the sport and also realize that there are maybe barriers to that diversity, economic and like educational barriers, and so finding ways to promote that in the sport because it's fun, it's inclusive, and I think it's a good community, from what I've like seen from it. And so I don't know, spreading it and also being aware that like there's tournaments, but like to go to a tournament for a whole weekend, and like it's not something a lot of people can do. And obviously those like resource questions or funding questions that like who's gonna pay for that. But yeah, just being aware of that, and I guess like it's something I think about, I guess, and finding ways to promote the diversity and like and that I think that in itself will like boost the sport.
Yeah, good stuff. So, I mean, there are people in the Bay Area who are definitely championing.
Yeah.
It's called Rocky Beach, who's up in San Francisco area, called Ultimate Impact, and he's trying to move the needle in addressing some of the things. So yeah, so we'll touch base ideally down the road when Professor or Administrator Hernandez or Vice President or President Hernandez, but you'll have more views on that.
Yeah.
So let's talk to Nick. So let's talk about your voice. You have a nice voice. When do you find yourself? Are you a karaoke guy, or are you cutting an album, or are you just in the musical group when you can?
So I love singing. I sing most of the time, as people who spend a lot of time with me quickly find out. And I like to make my own music. I have like a number of songs that I've written, and I'm trying to actually like figure out how to get on Spotify, and try to like put them out there, see what happens. So yeah, I like to write songs, guitar, piano, singing. I do make music on my own, and like it's my way of like relaxing and just kind of taking a step back and just refreshing kind of thing. Yeah, so if I ever put it up, if I ever figure out the Spotify thing and how to actually record things well, then
it's not that
I might put my songs out
One
there.
of the things is there's so many ways to put it out there. I say put it out there. Don't worry about
the quality of
like
recording.
I said, like your Callahan video. If it was grainy, they would see the man can ball. So even if it's like not the perfect production, they'll get the idea of like, oh, man's got some pipes. So how would you categorize your style, musical style?
Kind of like John Legend, Sam Smith, like sappy pop, smooth piano or guitar kind of things.
Quiet Storm.
Yeah, I like that.
KBLX.
And what is the radio station?
Yes, and that's what they go by. Quiet. What you're describing is very
nice.
Quiet Storm. Like,
yeah.
Yes.
But then I've also recently, as in like the past 6 months, kind of, I've kind of, which I guess I could call acoustic rap, which is just like playing a song on a guitar, usually, that has like some melodic chorus or something, and then the breakdown is just like a guitar strum or something, just like, and like rapping over it. So maybe that has a name. I don't know what it's called, but so some of that, I guess that would I think those two are kind of most of the things that I've written.
Nice. And you beatbox.
Mm-hmm.
What does beatbox mean for people who don't know?
It's like making sounds with your mouth that sound rhythmic and like drums /
Give a snippet of what that might look like.
So
I'll tell you what we're going to do is I would like you to see beatbox, then I'd like you to do 3 examples of the 3 different styles. So do beatbox. What that looks like.
Okay. Drop the bump. Something like that.
Sweet. All right. Awesome. Like that. And so, give me the Quiet Storm.
So I do something I wrote or
whatever. Just a song, just a snippet, just to see you're able to change gears.
Okay. Okay. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Nice.
Bling, bling, bling. Yeah.
Very nice. And so the other one, the rapping component.
Okay. I don't have a guitar, but so it's gonna sound just like a rap.
Okay.
While I'm on the subject, I may as well be real. The color of my pigment may sway away appeal. Some see it as a defect, I wear it as a seal. I know that I'm not perfect, so tell me what's your deal. I was taught to be humble and be kind. I was taught when you stumble you can find your feet. I was taught that forgiveness is divine, but my boy got shot. Where do I draw the line?
Word. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, by the way, right on, man. That was awesome. Cool. So, couple things to wrap up with. Your biggest influences right now
For
as
anything?
as a young adult, what was who's been your biggest influence as a person,
so what has been my big influence, I think, I don't know if I can pinpoint a number of people, but as I get older, the more I realize how much I value my parents. So my mom and dad both are very like giving centered people and like compassionate, affectionate, like, and they're always looking for ways to help others, I guess. And so I think that's always been, whether conscious or not, a guiding.
I always well up when you say that, because that's a high ideal, and it's nice that you were lucky to be around that. And actually be able to take that in.
And so like now as I get older, I think consciously I'm choosing, right, to be a teacher, to be there for these students and give to them in every way that I can. But then also like subconsciously that has been like a thing that's been present because of the way they raised me, and because of the church that they raised me in, which is a big part of my life for a long time. Currently, I think someone I look up to a lot is LeBron James. Because
we had this conversation. We said
we
32 is your number. 23, excuse me. I love 23. And I said, Michael Jordan. You said, no, LeBron James.
Yeah.
And LeBron James is sort of transcended from just being
an athlete.
An athlete.
So his slogan, more than an athlete. Basic belief, I guess, that whether it was ingrained in me from my parents and the church, or whether I've decided to do it, or like whatever mix of things that happened in my life that have brought me to this belief, I guess, is that everything you have is to give to others in some capacity. And so one of the biggest reasons why I really like LeBron James and see him like as a role model is he has like, he loves the sport. He worked hard at it. He got a lot of success through his sport. But at the end of the day, he's a lot more than an athlete. Is just finding ways that everything you have is to give to others in whatever capacity you can. And so like for him, it means like using his money to start a school that he just opened up this year, for low-income people in Akron, students in Akron, Ohio, giving them a lot of resources, paying for their, college tuition if they graduate, all this, incentives and like all this. So he's using what he has to give to the people that need it. And so for me, obviously I don't have that kind of money, but, it's like finding ways to like, I'm going to be a teacher, finding ways to like with the students, what do you have? You have this passion for sports, Frisbee, you love Frisbee. Also like, you love like basketball, football, soccer, anything sport related. So it's like giving that to them, sharing that with them, this love for music, finding ways to use that to help them, to give to them, either whether it be inspiring them to pursue a sport or fall in love with a sport or music, or express themselves or become confident in their own abilities, or using those mediums to just like at a basic level inspire them to care about their education and like know that people are rooting for them and want them to succeed. It's using what you have to give to others. So at the end of the day, I think that's, the most important thing is like relationships, and like, we're on this planet kind of together. We may be doing different things. We may be on different Frisbee teams, but we're at the same time, we are sharing this experience together. And so being there for the people and having this basic positive regard, I guess.
Is it spirit of the game? In a larger context.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like, I guess I could, that's my wording.
Right on. At least you didn't turn to me and go, "What's the question again?" Yeah, that was good. That was great. That was terrific. That was beautiful.
That's why LeBron James, and that's why initially my parents are the ones who gave me this like idea and belief, and then seeing people and like LeBron James and Chance the rapper gave money to Chicago public schools. So it's part of me wants to also like make a lot of money so I can do something like that, right, exactly. And not just throw money at a school, because sometimes that's debatably effective, but also like putting it in places that is useful and effective, and finding the best ways to do that. And hopefully my time as a teacher will inform me. So later on, I can hopefully help with some of those decisions.
So here I'm about to put a bow on this, but let's go back in your education. What did you graduate? What was your degree in?
It's called Symbolic Systems, which is a mix of psychology, computer science, philosophy, and linguistics. I started out my freshman year thinking I was going to do computer science, and then wanted to do like an I wanted to take classes that weren't CS. And so SimSys is kind of like a more interdisciplinary, broader like major. My concentration within that is learning. And so there's part of that interest leads to like wanting to design like technology, education technology, and using the technology that kids are so apt with and like so good at using. And so creating things that helps them learn the concepts they need to for their education. And so partly that, and then partly also just education as itself as a field, and like, so wanting to go in there and like actually, you know, be a teacher and like work in that. So that was, I got to that like field because of the Sims learning concentration. Through the learning concentration, I took a lot of classes in the School of Ed, the Graduate School of Education. And so learned a lot of things there, and like, yeah, that's what the major is.
So you were taking this knowledge. You are going to, your next degree is going to be what?
Master's education.
And and essentially it's through what college?
Johns Hopkins.
Johns Hopkins. Yeah. And so you are gaining knowledge. So ideally when you can be in a position to sway policy and impact change, and hopefully there'll be some money tied to that, either through a fund, a foundation, or yours, you'll be able to identify where these issues are. So you are going in an area where you're broadening your optics.
Yeah.
And
what's the plan? Try to do some good.
Yeah, no, amen, bro. That's good. That's very good stuff. So we're gonna wrap up on that note. And I wanted to give a shout out to Flatball Collective. They provided me this sweet looking shirt. It's a Ultimate Frisbee clothing company out of Canada. I say this is their Catch Their D shirt. There's actually another name to it, but I picked this out because it looks like you should be catching your D's. And I want to give a big shout out to them. They make some sweet clothing, swag, and flatballcollective.com. You want to give a shout out?
Sure, yeah. This is Be Ultimate.
You are a?
I'm a brand ambassador. So they're big on like being better than ever, you know, better for each other, kind of like building that community, building that like those values within the Ultimate community. And then for me personally, like it's very like better than ever. Like I'm hurt, I'm getting better. Like so like ties very well to my personal journey.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, shout out to Be Ultimate.
Right on. So, for Lawrence McKendall and Scooberlicious Ultimate, Gabriel Hernandez, the 2018 Callahan Award winner. This is Scooberlicious, and we are out. You guys take it easy.
Scooberlicious Ultimate. Word.
See, here's the shot. One-on-one ball. Are you kidding me? With an acrobatic, to say the least. That's going to be the best catch of the weekend. Holy moly. That is the catch of the weekend. Hey, put that on SportsCenter right now.